Well, one of the issues that's bemused many of us, and you sit there and think, is the minister missing? It occurred at the end of last week and over the weekend. It was highlighted when the Department of Social Welfare had a decision. Well, as it's not the Department of Social Welfare these days. It's the Ministry of Business Development or Social Development, who are in charge of the welfare system in this country, had one of their what seemed to be quite common sense decisions overruled. And the common sense decision related around somebody who was on a benefit of Maori background being turned down for a special needs grant. Now, the special needs grant wasn't to buy a school uniform, which, good God, you could almost understand that, or it wasn't to deal with an unexpected emergency in the family, necessarily. It was to do with somebody dying. Okay, and that is, and ACC and I think in particular ACC get involved in that stage, and you can claim some assistance towards funeral expenses. But this now was to do with the tangi afterwards, and particularly the food at the tangi. This particular person wanted and argued that because they were Maori and because of cultural reasons, they should be granted a special needs grant to provide the food for the tangi at which their whānau member had died. They were very upset when they were turned down, and they appealed, and eventually their appeal was upheld by appeal agencies within the Ministry of Social Development of Appear or associated with it, to the point now where a decision would appear to have been made that will affect the granting of government monies, of taxpayer monies to beneficiaries based wholly, it would appear, on their cultural and, well, on their cultural affiliation. Joining us to talk about this is a former chief executive of what was WINZ in those days, Work and Income New Zealand, I think it is, before the Ministry of Social Development or whatever it is called. There have been so many name changes. I just don't know why they didn't stick with the original Department of Social Welfare, but there you go. And current district councillor, it's not a city yet, is Christine Rankin. She joins us now to try and help us make sense of all this. And Christine joins us now. Christine, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on.
Thank you, and good afternoon.
How many name changes have that sort of social welfare agency gone through? Must be legion.
I think when I was there were three. There was the Department of Social Welfare, Work and Income, and then the Ministry of Social Development.
Right.
Yeah,
what is it? I've never quite worked out what it is now. Is it the MSD?
Yeah,
is it?
It's the Yeah, it is. They brought in policy to get rid of me. Actually, they brought in policy and changed it from Work and Income to Social Development to incorporate policy. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so they run all the social welfare shop fronts at which I turn up to if I want to go and claim a benefit or there's something wrong or I've got to do my welfare check or something like that. Is that right?
Absolutely. Actually, there was another one. It was called income support. That's when we went into our revolution phase. Yeah, that was a good time.
I seem to remember New Zealand Employment somewhere along the line there too.
Yeah, they were completely separate from us, and they were combined into Work and Income to create, into WINZ to create that new department. Yes, that's how it worked.
And, well, all these name changes, all those policy shifts, and really the problem still seems intractable. We've got, 380,000 people, adult New Zealanders aged between 18 and 65, dependent upon an income in this welfare income in this country. Hardly an improvement, is it?
Not at this stage. It did improve for a period of time. The government's got to be really tough. And I have admired the fact that this government has been, and I'm quite shocked at the topic you and I are talking about today. This is a race-based policy, and it will affect, it'll set a precedent, and it will affect the decisions that are made in the future. And in my opinion, the government needs to step in and say, don't agree with the appeal findings. This is not going to happen again. I'm shocked. Okay,
well, take us through how the appeal system works, please, because it seems multi-layered, which in of itself is extraordinary. Could you take us through it, please, Christine, to show us how it works?
Michael, I think it's changed since I was there, because all that would have happened if this had been during my period of time, A case manager would have made a decision. The person would have had 30 days or whatever it is to appeal that decision, and it would have gone to a higher ranking officer to make, and we had a very flat structure back in those days, so it might have gone to the chief executive of that particular district, and they would have made the decision. Now, I don't know what it is now, and I don't know if there's a group of people that do this, but if there is, that's completely unnecessary and more bureaucratic nonsense. So it was very straightforward in the whole 24 years I was there. It took a lot longer in the first years to get an appeal decision. It became much faster over time. But God knows what they've got now, Michael, I couldn't tell you. But if they've got an appeal group, that's also disgraceful. Bureaucratic nonsense.
This is how it goes now then. So the woman appeals the decision from that she sought over $1,000 for kai or food for the tangihanga.
Yep.
MSD turn her down. She then goes to a benefit review committee, which agree with MSD, saying you made the right decision. And then she goes to the Social Security Appeal Authority, which has now come down in her appeal. And they were set up, as I understand, by legislation in 2018, all right, whatever they called.
Yeah, that would be a Labor government policy, wouldn't it?
It was indeed, yeah. And the woman argued, who was turned down, among other things, that the policy that was being implemented here to turn her down for the kai failed to honour the ministry's commitment as a treaty partner under Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Her lawyers took this up, and lo and behold, she won.
Her lawyers. She can afford lawyers.
No, well, I'm sure legal aid came in. Legal aid, do you think?
The taxpayer paid again. The taxpayer paid for the tangihanga food, and it paid for the lawyers. The story gets better and better, Michael.
Yeah. Okay, now here's the issue. The Social Security Appeals Authority, at what stage, if this was you, so I'm putting you in charge of the department again, you've got this verdict, I'm sure you recognise the implications right across your organisation of what this verdict is.
Absolutely. Yep.
If you're the chief executive, what do you do?
I would go, I'd be talking to that authority that made the decision and being very clear about the implications that came from it. And then I would be right on the minister's doorstep insisting that action was taken to ensure that a precedent wasn't set. And that is exactly what needs to happen here. This is going to cost, I can't even imagine how much this is going to cost, because you can't separate Maori out in this. What about Pacifica? What Pacifica do is get their families to contribute, which is also another huge burden for families. But they've never been given government money for their funerals either. And personally, as a European New Zealander, if someone I love died and I was responsible, I would be grateful for the funeral grant that I got to do the very basic, and I would want to and be very embarrassed about not being able to provide food. But I'm afraid that's the reality of being a beneficiary.